Great defeaters, new and old, welcome back to yet another episode of The Breakdown with your hosts, BaseDaKID, Tony, Pugilist Boy. We are the children of the game. How you doing, Tony?
Yes, Mike, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I am, yeah, on the back of a very successful weekend. My team are top of the league, and my other team in the NFL are almost top of the league. Boxing was a good weekend. I thought there was some very entertaining bouts. One of the, boxing never fails to give you something new. So once again, this weekend we had an absolute travesty. Something that I've never seen in all my years of watching boxing. I've seen some strange things, but it threw me a curveball this weekend. So, without further delay, let's get in.
All right, so I guess we might as well start with this travesty. So you go ahead and tell us what happened.
Okay, so before we do that, you jumping ahead of the game. We got to give our credits to the people in the chat.
All right, go ahead.
So Dan the Man, big up Uncle Jonah, Osborne in the house, Mr. A, Hebrews to Mandem, Hot Pies, big up. North Bank Bren, big up. North Bank Bren, you know what it's all about. Bruce Kai, hope you're well. And yes, indeed, come on, you Gunners. Don't be upset, man. Just because one of your players is making up all kind of stories, yeah? Relax yourself. Calm
Yeah,
your
dude,
nerves.
he's keeping football interesting. What are you talking about? Anyway, we ain't here to talk about football. So
Indeed, indeed.
let's get to your controversy.
So my controversy isn't really a controversy, or it could be considered a controversy, I guess, if you were listening to Eddie Hearn's spiel after the end of the fight. But I'm talking about man like Montana Love.
Okay. So
You know, um, let's get into it. I guess. Let me bring up the footage. So it's essentially bringing the game into disrepute. What we're talking about is this incident. I mean, the fact that the man and Eddie is not doing himself any favors, because on the back of Conor Ben, he's arguing some cases now that you just go, nah, Eddie, calm yourself. You need to realize when someone's done wrong, just give it up. Just give up the ghost and say, all right, you know what? It is what it is. Um, he's going in to try and say that they're going to appeal the decision today or yesterday. But what's he gonna do? Montana Love threw the man out the ring.
mm, did he though? I mean, yeah, he pushed him. He pushed him, but did the guy really have to go over the ropes? I mean, if you look at it again, I mean, I don't. Obviously, you can't even slow it down, but his feet were on the ground, and then he turns into the ropes and decides to flip himself over. He didn't have to,
Yeah.
because if you remember, what I will say is, right. Remember the Dillian White and Joseph Parker fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a time where Dillian White literally had Parker like both arms over the ropes, and he's launched into him, and Joseph Parker, but he stayed in the ring because
Yeah.
he's kept his back to the ropes and he stayed in the ring, even though his feet actually lifted off the ground. Dillian lifted him off.
Yeah.
Whereas on this particular occasion, this guy's turned into the ropes, which has obviously now destabilized him, and he must have thought someone was going to grab him. To be fair. Now look, I've had laugh and joke with it over the weekend. It's funny. Yes, it was a remove it, Montana shouldn't have done. But I've looked at it a couple times. I've looked at it slow mo. I've looked at it normal speed. I've looked at it in high speed. The only part where I could say, yeah, Montana Love definitely was trying to go for it was when he first obviously goes underneath and Sparker's kind of pushing his head down. You can see him almost cup his arm under his bottom, like it's a rugby or a football tackle towards the ropes. But then he lets go. But when they get to the ropes, he's no longer there, and the guy's feet are back on the floor again. So at that point, I feel like the guy has helped himself. Maybe that's my personal opinion. Like, yes, the push was there, so you could probably get disqualified for even that part because the ref said stop. But I don't think he's actually fully flipped him over the ropes. I feel like there was a bit of theatrics there, in my opinion.
Theatrics or no theatrics, you put your shoulder underneath the man and you made him go up on your shoulder. Now, let's be honest. We have seen plenty of occasions where fighters end up with another fighter on their shoulders. That's never been an issue. I probably can count you 12 occasions where I've seen a fighter in a clinch end up picking a fight off his feet and end up with a fighter on his shoulder. It is not difficult to do. However, you've got to be using common sense to realize, hang on a second, I pushed the man from the middle of the ring, got to the rope, and I continued pushing. And if he goes over, I'm going to be in trouble. What was he thinking?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Who was thinking at that moment? What he was thinking is, this fight's about to be stopped. I could be down on the cards because this guy's just nutted me in my head. That's what he's thinking at the time. So, but the joke is, he was actually what is it? It was a draw at the time. It would have been a majority draw because he had won one of the cards, or he was winning on one, and then the other two were a draw. So, but obviously he doesn't know that. It's just one of those funny, weird situations. But here's my thing, right? And I don't know if this is necessarily like good from a particular in like an entertainment standpoint or a talking point standpoint, but how come all of these mad situations only seem to be happening on the zone matchroom cards? Like, there's nothing that happens on a Sky Sports card or like a BT Sports card or Channel 5 or Fight TV. Everything's always happening on Matchroom. Now, is that because they're just putting on more cards than everyone else, or is it just because the quality control is starting to wane? I don't know. It's like
Ace, I think you're making a very salacious statement there, which is erring on the side of conspiracy theory.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to have to draw you back, brother. I think I'm going to have to draw you back because let's just take it for what it is. I don't believe there's anything that makes it a coincidence that all these things are happening on the zone. It just happens to be the way it is.
What other things have happened on the other platforms?
No, you're right. You are right.
I'm not saying that it's a I'm not saying that they're
listen,
orchestrate. I'm saying, why is all these things seeming to just happen on the zone and matchroom cards? Because they're not even happening on Golden Boy cards.
What we can't do is just say that the reason that they're happening is because it's the zone.
But that's not what I said. I said, why are all of these things? Why do they always seem to happen?
The way the sentence is structured is the indication that these things don't happen elsewhere, and therefore the common factor of them being on the zone means that potentially something is awry at the zone when we all know there isn't really. It's just a coincidence.
Well, we don't know that.
Oh, to be totally fair,
we don't know that.
Do you really think that there's something going on where somebody is saying to the guy, "Oh, by the way, guys, can you spice up the fight a little bit and
I never said that.
little?" So what do you think's going on?
Read Hot Pie's comment. Read that up.
Basically saying the zone lowered standards of the fighters they're employing. That doesn't make sense.
What I'm saying is
that Stevie Sparks and Montana Love are both reputable fighters. Neither one of them causes controversy when you look at their records and their trajectories.
Well, you've seen we've had Montana Love be rather eccentric in the past.
Yes.
Coming out with who else has ever come out with a poodle or whatever kind of dog he's got before?
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's not put
No,
the
hold on.
blame on the zone. Let's talk about Montana Love.
These are people that these are people fighting on the zone all the time.
Okay, all right.
I'm not saying, listen to me, right?
Oh,
Because we haven't even got into the breakdown stuff yet.
that's
But
what I want to get to,
yeah,
because I want to
we're
break
gonna
down.
get there. We're gonna get there. What I'm
Okay,
saying is everything or every time an incident seems to happen or some kind of mad controversy is happening at the moment, it seems to be happening on the zone and it seems to be happening on Matchroom cards. All I'm saying is it's mad that it's always happening with them. Is it because they just do more cards than everyone else? So obviously these things are gonna happen more with them, or is there something else to it? Because let's not also forget the zone's also the land of the misfits now as well. Yeah, that's also correct, right? I'm just saying I haven't seen anything like this happening on Sky or on Queensbury. It's just weird how there's always a mad controversy or something that's kind of going on with the zone cards. I'm not saying every card. It's not every card. It just always seems to happen on the zone. And
yeah.
I actually don't mind it because it's entertainment. But my point is, it's weird how it's everything is happening there. That's all I'm
Okay,
saying.
all right. Let's move on. Let's
Go ahead.
talk about the fighter.
All right, so you break
So,
it down, and then I'll follow your lead on this one.
okay, so after the potential conspiracy theory about the zone, let's talk about the fighters. So a resurgent, or not resurgent, because he's a very good proven up and coming Stevie Sparks, going in against the home fighter, the highly touted Montana Love. And first things first, we didn't see the poodle. Okay, but what we did see was Montana Love coming out, naming every punch before he threw them. Did you hear that?
I actually didn't.
So basically, he came out and he's like, double jab right, boom, 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 left hook, boom. So he was actually calling the punches before he was throwing them. That's how much disdain he was giving to Stevie Sparks. So when you come out and you do BS like that, yeah, that you think that you can come out in this kind of environment and go to the point where you can disrespect your opponent by saying, oh, I'm so good, I'm going to name my punches before I even throw them. That is what's going to get you a cut ass. Yeah, that's a Caribbean phrase for beat down. So he's naming shots, and Stevie Sparks is like, go ahead. And Stevie Sparks, to be honest, steps in on the second round and clocks him a beautiful shot. And Love is down. And then the mouth shuts up because it's like, oh, hang on. This weren't in the script. And the shot was lovely. I mean, it was a beautiful, was it a right hook or a left hook? It was a right hook.
It was a strafing right. It wasn't even a hook, it was a straight.
Because he's moving along. Montana Love is moving along the rope, and he kind of moves back into the shot. So I'm kind of thinking it's cross hook.
No,
Combination of the two.
What happened was he went to throw the left hook. Montana Love moved away from that, and as he's coming back, he's turned his body and pushed the right straight through, and it's clipped him. And dropped. But it was proper quick, like, because you don't even really see it in real time until you see the replay and the slow it down. So it was a very deceptive shot. I've never seen that before.
No, and that's what I want to highlight, because there's an element that needs breakdown, because it's a very good 1-2 combination, and it's about timing. The timing of the shot was significant enough that he clocks Montana coming into the right hand, and he drops him. So Stevie Sparks is now a 2-round up on that one, and he continues to apply sensible pressure onto Montana Love, and Montana's like, okay, I've got to respect the power, so I can't be acting foolishness. And Stevie's using that advantage that now he's got the impetus to take the fight to Montana, and Montana is in trouble. Then we get the headbutt, and this discombobulates Montana. So Montana is now thinking, what the hell's going on? And you can see he's visibly shook by the headbutt. And he ends up kind of losing the game plan because he's about, not returning back to the boxing, but more so looking at one punch equalizers, trying to, get back that big score. And aggression kind of overtakes him, which leads to the incident where he's ended up pushing Stevie Sparks over the ring. But it all, to me, leads to the fact that, as Hot Pie says, is Montana Love proven main eventer? He's professional. We can't say he's not a professional. Did he act professionally? No, but he's still a professional boxer. And he's a good professional boxer. However, what we have seen is him now be exposed. He's gone down heavy, he's been hurt, and the game plan has suddenly gone to pot, and it's ended up being a fight called off because he wasn't able to maintain a sense of where I am and what I must do. So that reveals a great deal about the character of a fighter.
Yeah. As in when it's when it's not going right, can you adjust, can you make adjustments, or do you do things that are out of character? Yeah, I can agree with that. In terms of the actual, the fight itself, up until that particular moment, it was actually a really good fight. So again, obviously there were times when I saw like Love's like mouth moving, but I wasn't really paying attention. So the fact that you highlighted that was interesting. Also, before I even get into anything, it's almost like every time someone seems to go to their hometown now, so there's a madness that happens. So maybe we got to keep these people, apart from Terence Crawford, away from their home cities, because these madnesses seem to happen. But I thought it was one of those, like, when you look at the fight itself, one of the things I said on my breakdown is that Steve Spark is like a huge guy compared to Montana Love. Like he's competed as high as 154 before, so the fact he gets down to 140 is interesting. And the only thing is that does he have a necessary gas tank at that point? And that's the only thing I wasn't sure of. He looked visibly like 2.5 weight classes above him in the ring, which was insane. But I felt like Montana Love was actually controlling the distance in the first round quite well, and he was the quicker of the two, so he was actually able to dart in and out. And he was very much in playing more of a boxer puncher type style, and he was keeping Stevie Spark almost occupied with the front hand. And obviously it was Southpaw v Southpaw, which is always an interesting affair when it takes place. But then I guess after that, in the second round, he probably got a bit too cautious, and not too cautious, so he probably got a bit too ahead of himself. And then in that whole scenario, we kind of see what's basically happened. Stevie Sparker said, "No, do you know what? I'm gonna take my moment now. Like, you're not gonna keep me second guessing. I'm gonna put the pressure on you and see how you respond." And then he was aiming to the body at times, but he was throwing in salvos, and that's one of those things that you can always teach an opponent, unless you've got someone in front of you that's a proper sniper or sharpshooter. Throw a punch behind the punch. Like, don't just stick to the 1-2. Like, throw that 1-2-3-4, or that 1-2-3-1, that 1-2-4, like, and vary up. If you do it enough, like, something normally will get through. And Stevie Spark proved that something will get through, and that's exactly what happened. So yeah, Montana Love did well to recover, obviously, from the second round, because on my scorecard, apart from that second round at the time, he won every other round. But the fifth round was the one that showed me, all right, it might get a little tense, a little bit dicey at this point, because he was starting to Spark was starting to come forward again. And Montana Love obviously wasn't looking that comfortable with that sort of come forward aggression. So yeah, and then obviously we saw what happened at the start of the sixth, and then that's pretty much what took place. We've discussed everything after that. So yeah, it ends in a DQ. His first professional loss, until we will have to wait and see exactly what happens with regards to the commission, and whether it does get overturned or no contests, or you know they decide to run it back for that international belt, that WBA international, whatever it is. But otherwise it's just a case of, okay, Montana Love's got a rebuild from a loss, and Steve Sparks got a lot of options moving forward.
Indeed, indeed. So let's move on. Reese Jones, welcome Reese, has suggested that Eddie should put Montana Love in with Dalton Smith. That would be an interesting fight. That would be an interesting fight. Is Dalton ready for that? Because that would be a very interesting matchup. North Bank Brent, I've got no idea about the attendance. Sorry, fella. Hebrews to Mandem. The images I get are literally what I can find. Sometimes I can find good images, sometimes I can't. When I can't, I just literally have to take from the screen, from moving images. Hence why the image quality isn't great. But hopefully, I take lots of those type pictures and I select the best out of what I can to kind of give you an idea of the positioning of people, where good shots might be seen, body shapes, etc. So obviously, hopefully, that gives you a little idea. But entertaining fight. Let's move on to the next. Let's go to Alvarado versus Edwards. Again, I've got no video. Images of this were difficult to find, so sorry for the quality. But basically,
did you watch this?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
They are a joy to watch, to be honest. There's not anything bad that I can say about like the way he boxes, and I've said on my video, and I've said out loud, I've said it on even on Twitter, like I feel like in terms of boxing brains in the world at the moment, I feel like he's like a top 5 boxing brain in the world, and I'll argue that with anyone. But what I thought would occur, which did occur exactly as I predicted. So after all the movement, sort of, a couple jabs here, a right hand here, or a counter left hook here, even a couple uppercuts, because he doesn't have the necessary power to keep guys wary and honest. They're gonna like a good on top pressure fighter is really gonna is really gonna just stay on his chest and wear him down. So the first third, he pretty much has his way in the fight. Second third, now the guy starts to get to him a little bit. He starts to invest in some body work. Sometimes maybe even being a little bit dirty. He might throw to the hips, just to sort of knock the hip out of joint a little bit, so you can't move as much. Like, invest in the body, slow the guy down, and then look to try and catch him on the corners and just unload and sort of do work that way. Now, what one thing that Sonny did in this second third, which, and even to be honest, a little bit in the first, which I've never really noticed before, but I heard one of the commentators mention it, is every time that he would engage in a clinch with Alvarado, he would push his neck out and put his chin on the guy's head, forcing the referee to have to come in and stop it. almost arguing, oh, he's using his head, he's using his head. These times, Alvarado's head is actually down, and Sonny is literally moving onto his head and putting his chin on his. And I looked at it like, raw. I've never actually noticed that before. I've never noticed that tactic, but it was clearly working because it was stopping the action from, you know, or any work that Alvarado's trying to do, trying to wriggle free. Like the referee is immediately jumping in and now having to break it up. And he did that quite consistently for sort of the first 5 or 6 rounds. But yeah, pretty much after that, so the second third comes now, so he starts to slow down a bit because you can't hit a move forever against an elite guy that's just he's barreling forward at you. He's taking shots. All of a sudden now some of those shots are starting to land up top as well. They're landing to the body, they're landing to the to the legs, to the midsection. And he's starting to get caught on the ropes a little bit more than he was before, and Alvarado's having success. Then we go through to the third now, and this is where I thought the legs are gonna start to go. He's not gonna be able to move about much. He's gonna get caught more. He's gonna get trapped more, and this is where he's gonna get taken out. But what he's managed to do is because Alvarado at this point is also, even though he's still got a lot of energy in the tank, but he's not everything's not as hard. He actually has to, it takes him a bit longer to set his feet to throw shots. So now Sonny's decided, okay, let's do let's do some rope dope business. Let's stay on the ropes. I can see every shot that he's throwing. Yeah, it might hurt. I know I'm gonna have to take the shots here, but if I can see them, I can brace for them. I can adjust my body just enough so that I can take some of the sting out of some of the ones to the body. I can ride the ones to the head, and ultimately I can make this guy, for lack of a better phrase, blow his load, gas himself out, and then I can use that as my exit to sort of survive sort of rounds 11 and 12. And that's pretty much what he done. He took a beating in the 10th round, but he was able to weather that storm. And you could clearly see when Alvarado was gassed at that point, like, okay, like I'm tired now. He's come out in the 11th. He hasn't got as much of a snap. He's still throwing shots, but he hasn't got as much on them. And at this point, Sonny's now being able to again readjust and sort of move, hit and move. He still probably is losing some of these rounds again, but he already feels like he's more ahead on the scorecards, so I can kind of just hit and move. He hasn't got the same sting. I can even take a couple of these shots again now, and that was the tactic in the 11th. That was the tactic in the 12th. Ultimately, he wins the fight on a close decision, according to the scorecards, 115, 113. I had it, to be honest, I can see where you give Alvarado 5 rounds, and I can see the investments that you put in there. But a lot of people had it more 116, 112. But Sonny guts it out, and as much as I hate to say it, and he shows that Capricorn magic, that shades of Ali, as people like to say. Is But yeah, it was a great performance. I can't knock anything about the performance. The only thing that we know that stops Sonny from being a much better or a much more household or fan friendly fighter is the lack of power. But he's now put himself in the position whereby even having that lack of power means nothing, because you're not going to land enough on him significantly to make that count unless you are elite, or as elite as he is. And thus far, we haven't seen anyone that is on that level in his division. So
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much going to mirror what you've just said, with the addition that I made a comment some weeks back about Devin Haney putting on a masterclass and looking beautiful in the way he moved his feet, his head, his punch selection. And this was one of them performances where you go, I can show this fight to kids and show, look at this footwork. His footwork is magnificent. Punch selection, excellent. Knows how to stay away from dangerous big punches. He's making Alvarado miss. He's reading of angles. You know where to be at the right time, when to take a breather. He's managing the whole fight the whole time. You can almost see in his head, look, I'm taking a time. Let me just walk around here. Okay, take that. Boom. I'm moving. Okay, here I come. Brr, brr. I'm in and out. Brr, in and out. Brr, in and out. Then I'm gone for a little walk again. So it's a very pleasing watch to see the way Sonny fought. As I said, very much in control. In against a live fighter, as you said, you could see that Alvarado against other fighters could, cause huge problems. But Sonny's defensive work is superlative. It's just it's really at a high level where you have to say, you know what, um, you know, he's at that level where it's like Floyd, it's like Pernell Whitaker. You have to work out a strategy. How do I get enough punches on him? Because yes, you will hit him, but how many punches will you land on him in a round? You can try to be aggressive. He's just going to make you swing and miss. You can stay on the back foot and wait for him to come. He's just going to take his time and pick you when he wants. So it is that level of defensive work now that I have to honestly say, yeah, Sonny is due credit, and the defensive side of his game is up there. If you're looking at pound for pound fighters, who else can make you miss like that? So let's look at some of the comments in the chat. North Bank Brand says Sonny was also good at holding on the inside, out of view of the referee. Is Bam versus Edwards a competitive fight? I have to say yes. I mean, yeah, Bam is a dangerous MF, but with Sonny's defensive capabilities, and he could make Bam look. He could actually make Bam look kind of amateurish. There's that potential.
No, I would disagree with that, because one of the things that we've also got there, the same way Sonny spins off and has his angles, like Bam has exactly the same. Whereas Sonny's normally doing this against orthodox guys, and they're Bam southpaw. The dynamic is, so the way you spin is gonna be, everything's gonna be different in that fight. It will be. I think it would be a very competitive fight, but the difference is Bam has got skills equal to Sonny. Whether they're as okay, let's say that Sonny is elite, right? And let's say that Bam's not necessarily elite, but like he's world class, just for an example, but the skills are close. Yeah. So if Sonny's here, let's say that Bam's here,
Mm-hmm.
but Bam's got great shot selection and power, where Sonny doesn't. So every time Sonny does
Ooh,
make
ooh, ooh. You saying he doesn't have great punch selection?
who?
Your statement just kind of said,
No, I
but
didn't. No, I said that Bam has great punch selection. I didn't mention anything
and you
about Sonny.
and
I
you
said he
said
has great. Yeah, no. I said
Sonny
Bam.
doesn't.
No, no,
Yeah.
that's not what I said. I said he has great. He has
Say it again.
power.
Say it again.
See, why you always stop, man, when I'm mid? What I said
Because
is what I
what your
said.
statement said was
That's
Bam
not.
has it and Sonny
You can
doesn't.
rewind it. That's not what I said. What I said
Okay.
was he has great punch selection and he has
Mm-hmm.
power, whereas
Yeah.
Sonny doesn't.
You said it
Power,
again.
power, and
But
Sonny
punch
doesn't.
selection. I didn't say the power bit. I said the
No, but
punch
that
selection.
was my statement. He has great punch selection and power, which Sonny doesn't.
Okay, just the power bit.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't. Why would I say
I'm
Sonny
a
doesn't have
school
great
teacher,
punch
bro.
selection?
I'm a school teacher. Something and something, and the other person doesn't, means both things potentially. Yeah. So we're just clarifying. Yeah, I
But
understand what you're
that was
saying now,
something we didn't
but I
need to
just wanted.
clarify, because
I
earlier
don't
on I
want
just
people
said
to
that
think
Sonny
that.
has got. I just said Sonny had great IQ and punch it from before. So why would I
Yes,
now say he doesn't? What?
that's why I'm asking the question. Okay, moving on.
I can't even bother to finish the point now. Anyway, yeah. So it would be a competitive. It would be a competitive fight, but the power would be the difference in that, because they both would have similar skills in terms of yeah. I reckon sort of skills and movement and IQ in the ring.
So I counter that with saying I think Sonny's got the better punch selection. He's not got the power, I agree, but I think he has the better punch selection, and I think with his much better defense, he causes Bam all kind of problems. Now, if Bam connects and can significantly hurt Sonny, it changes the dynamic of the fight. Because a really good fighter, say like Montana Love, gets hit, gets clocked, gets dropped, and all of a sudden, fighters all over the place. We haven't seen that with Sonny. But if I'm just going on the boxing, and if Bam can't reach Sonny and hurt him, Sonny could, this is just my view. Obviously, I appreciate what you're saying, but my view is Sonny's defensive skills could make Bam look kind of amateurish. And it's not to say Bam's not a good fighter. He's an excellent fighter. But sometimes when you put that elite fighter who's got elite defense, it comes across like making the other guy look bad. And the typical scenario would be Floyd Mayweather against Canelo. Canelo looks like a bull charging at a matador, and a matador is just running the bull ragged. But that didn't take away from the fact that Canelo was still a very good fighter. And look at him now. North Bend, Bam versus Sonny is actually a really good fight. Would be technically boxing porn. I agree. Yes, it would be. Would be a very good fight if it happens. So, let's move on, shall we? Okay, next. We go to the card. I don't think I've got anything else from that card from the Edwards Alvarado show. So we move on to the Jonas, Natasha Jonas versus Mary Eve DeKeer. And here is your starter. Do you want to take yourself off mute? I actually only got to see the highlights of this fight, so I'm going to leave most of the talking on this one to you.
Okay. So, with regards to Jonas versus DeKeer, so the natural order of things would have been it's one boxer puncher versus a pure boxer. But in this particular bout, Marie DeKeer actually took the position of being a pressure fighter in the ring. She stayed pretty much on the front foot for the majority of the fight, or better yet, I say a pressuring boxer puncher, or even maybe a pressuring pure boxer. She stayed close to Natasha, and her whole game plan was basically to stick to Tasha's chest, like use her size and impose her will on it. Now, Natasha was pretty much pot shotting and sharp shooting for the first sort of 2-3 rounds. Clearly was just up and just outworking Marie DeKeer. But what you started to tell quite visibly from sort of the fourth round on is that Tash was starting to gas a bit. She was starting to tire with obviously this much naturally bigger girl just sticking to her, like, you know, pushing her back to the ropes, constantly keeping her on the back foot at this point, leaning on her. It was just one of those situations where you could tell that the gas tank was starting to run low, and that's where Marie DeKeer actually started to have success, where she would be landing punches as well, and Tasha's punches don't have the same sting and pop on them as they had previously in sort of the fight. They weren't all of a sudden they weren't really snapping Marie's head back. They was just sort of landing, they were scoring shots, and then the fight became a lot more competitive in the middle and later stages. Tash did more than enough to win. Like, she won the fight convincingly. I had it 97-93. So it was 7 rounds to 3, but there were 1 or 2 other rounds in there where I've heard other people say that they gave those ones to Marie, whereas I gave them to Natasha for cleaner work. But Marie was maybe again just busy and keeping Tash on that back foot. There was one card I saw that was really that I thought was really bad. It was a 100 to 90 card, 10 rounds to the zero, which I don't see how anyone could have that as a scorecard. But that being said, the right woman did win. It wasn't a um I don't particularly feel it was a close fight in terms of having someone having to dispute, oh, who do you think won? To me, there was only one, there was a clear winner, but it was a lot more competitive than that one scorecard suggested. Um, so yeah, uh, great for Natasha. She moves on, but I think that she definitely is going to want to move down from 154 because clearly being up against those bigger women just causes an issue. And you can kind of see that just by how visibly tired she was after sort of the fourth and fifth round.
Cool. So, as I said, I kind of only watched the highlights. My feelings were she did enough and looked okay. She wasn't, to me, overly impressive. I think she, worked. Her work rate is what won the rounds that I saw. For me, she takes a few too many shots. She's almost like I'll give three good ones. I'll take three good ones to give my four or my two hard ones. Um, and she has a penchant for trying to find the big shot when in fact she's not really renowned as a big puncher. So she would be better off approaching fights on the basis that I'm not a big puncher. So what I will do is just stay away and hit you and not get hit. Yeah. If I catch you with the right shot and you go down, then yeah, I'm going to try and finish the story. But I'm not a big puncher. So why take the gamble, of engaging where you don't need to? This is something I noticed from the Katie Taylor fight. She's just I'm gonna show you how tough I am. You can throw all your shots at me, and I'm just gonna keep throwing back, so it becomes a back and forward scrap. And I'm gonna win it on the basis I'll do more than you. But if you're not hurting your opponent, then you want to be employing better boxing skills. And her trainer needs to be making that note to her. She's a good boxer. She's not a great boxer, but in being where she's at now as a unified champion, she to me needs better tutelage to be able to go out and exact a plan of action. I think her her role model should be Alicia Baumgardner, because Alicia was a banger scrapper who's turned into more of a boxer. Now, yes, she still can bang, but she also has improved her boxing skills significantly. So her timing now is so much better than it was before. So that's my analogy of Tasha Jonas. Now, after this comes through, we now have a bunch of fights. This is in no real order. She could go up, and what do you think of this potential matchup,
So
Base?
wait, what am I looking at particular?
So you're looking at the potential of any combination of um, Clarissa Shields, Natasha Jonas, Terry Harper, and Sinisa Estrada, right?
No, that's Cecilia Brackhouse.
Cecilia Bracker, sorry, yeah, sorry.
Okay, so where does Cecilia fit into this? Because she doesn't hold any belts.
But she's up there. Am I right? Is she up there?
She did move up to 154 the other day. Yeah,
Okay. You can throw in other names.
I'm trying to. I don't really. But are you asking me what does Tasha do next?
Yeah.
Well, she said that she wants. She's interested in Jessica McCaskill, Chantel Cameron, and Katie Taylor. but primarily Katie Taylor. That's what she said, that she sort of the one that she wants the most. She said that she'll, like, if Clarissa Shields wants to fight, she'll fight Clarissa, but the fight that she wants is Katie Taylor and
Okay.
Jessica McCaskill, because I think McCaskill's now out of contract with Matchroom and the Zone, and she's still got 3 out of the 4 belts at 147. Well, actually, that's now being. It looks like it's being contested because I think she gave up initially the WBA, because she had a mandatory, which obviously she didn't take, to do the undisputed at 140. But it's still showing that she's got that belt now, and the WBO sent her a show cause letter, to say, well, which division are you gonna continue in? Because obviously you can't fight in one division and be fighting for titles down there, but hold our belt in another. You can't fight for the same belt in 2 different divisions.
Mm.
So I'm not sure whereabouts she's gonna end up, whether she's gonna go back to 140 or whether she's gonna stay at 147. But yes, those are the fights and those are the options that she has. But she doesn't seem to want the Terry Harper rematch, for undisputed at 154. So I don't know what's next for her.
Okay. Big up to Flames Boxing in the house. So yeah, okay, let's move on. So also on that card, Jonas Dikier, was Vidal Riley against Ross McGuigan, and this is just because it was kind of like a sudden ending to this fight. I just enjoyed it from the point of view of, Ross McGuigan is a big guy, and as you can see, Vidal come with the Jamaican style, cook up the sauce, and had Ross out of there. So yeah, it was entertaining while it lasted. Beautiful overhand right. Boom! And down goes McGuigan. So I'm just bringing that one in for entertainment value. It was a nice little knockout.
Okay.
Did you want to mention anything about that?
No, not particularly.
Okay, so
Vidal's building nicely, so let's see him. He's got his next fight in December. So
okay. Um, there was a fight between Tyler
Tyler
Denny
Denny and Bradley Ray.
and Bradley Rhea, um, which had a rather exciting round 9.
Yeah, I actually just watched that probably about an hour and a half ago. The fight. It was a good entertaining fight. But yeah, round 9 was very. It was very. It was suspenseful. That's what I wouldn't say like it was wall to wall entertainment, but it was suspenseful. Of, oh, is Tyler Denny about to lose after so much good work? Is he gonna go down? Is the ref gonna wave it off? Because he got hit with like 2 or 3 body shots that visibly folded him over and had him backing off and backing up and in clear distress and pain. And yeah, it's only due to his own will and his survival instincts that he was able to sort of gut it out. And even to the point where, as he was holding on, the ref even took a point off for excessive holding. But that was the only way that. So it's almost like he might as well have taken the knee because the ref still took the point off of him anyway, like for the round. But no, it was a very good fight. Denny just showed that he's like his boxing brain and he's just a couple levels above Bradley Ray at this point. Um, I mean, sort of, yeah. Ray didn't have this. He didn't have an answer for that southpaw backhand. He was getting hit with it all night. Very leaky defense. He was getting touched up to the body pretty much all night. Yeah, Tyler Denny, his movement was top draw for the majority of the fight, and he showed he's got heart, he's got survival instinct. So Ray's got a bit more work to do, but it's not, it's by no means like a devastating loss or a loss that's going to derail him. Or at least I hope it isn't, depending on how Sky, match him and sort of move him afterwards. But no, yeah, it was a highly entertaining fight. So if anyone hasn't watched it, it is on the Sky Sports Boxing YouTube. Go watch.
Absolutely, absolutely. Welcome Osborne in the house. I might have shouted you a bit earlier anyway. But yeah, good fight. Very entertaining round 9, as we said. Was there anything else on that card that you want to mention? Because I don't think. Oh, Dalton Smith, of course.
I mean, yeah, you can mention it. I literally only finished watching that fight a couple minutes before we went live. To
So
be
I got
fair,
nothing of that fight, but
it wasn't a it was a very technical fight. It should have
mm,
whereas you thought it would be more of a action, sort of like a more of an action packed fight. There was a lot of posturing and a lot of like feinting to shoot the shots, especially in the opening half. Like there was good shots landed on both guys, but a lot of it was like battle of the lead foot. Like okay, who's gonna succumb to the front foot pressure first? Who's gonna react over the other person? um yeah, it was just one of those. It was a fight that never really caught fire, and there wasn't as much output in the fight as people probably thought there would be. But it was like a chess match. It was a chess match with some really hard shots landed by both guys throughout. So yeah, it was entertaining, but it was nothing special. It wasn't what it could have been.
yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Dalton Smith. Up until now, his work has been superlative. He's basically been so dominant in every fight. So this is a fight was interesting to see that he actually had a live opponent who actually was taking rounds off of him. Um, he did seem somewhat not quite himself, because I don't think I've seen him box better. Let's put it that way. I've seen him box better, but he came through it. Respect you. I'm not going to labor on the fight because we've got plenty more to talk about today. But well done, Dalton Smith. I think he's got some. He probably needs a bit of a rest because I think he's had quite a few fights this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he has. His dad said he was going to pull him out of the fight earlier, so I don't know. I didn't hear as to what the reason was for that,
Mm,
but he said that there was some kind of issue. But
yeah,
Dalton refused to be pulled out. So
yeah. And a big shout out to Casey Benjamin came in and look, that kid is no scrub. He gave Dalton every bit of trouble. Um, he said he was sick. They were going to pull him out. Yeah, just what you said. Osborne says they both figured out what the other was trying to do and cancelled each other out. Yeah, that's a fair assessment. So also on that card was Big Freeze. Did you watch that?
yeah, I saw it. Did you
I
watch it?
didn't. I
Oh.
didn't. No.
Well, look, I don't really want to spend too much time on that fight. What I will say is Fraze won every round clearly, but he took shots that probably he shouldn't have, maybe because either he felt it was okay to take them, or he was just more focused on getting his work off than actually making sure that he's not worrying about something that's coming back, or making sure that he blocks something that comes back. Um, which as he goes up the levels and steps up the level of opponent, that's obviously going to cost him. So he needs to keep it. He needs to sort of tighten up on his defense and not worry constantly about landing his work, especially at those heavier weights. He was visibly he was sort of blowing quite badly by the middle to end of the third round. So that in itself shows that maybe his conditioning ain't the best. He needs to kind of work on that. Um, Being 19 stone at 6'5" or whatever, I think he's 6'5", maybe isn't the move. Maybe work on shifting a little bit of the timber, because you don't need like 19 stone works for Fury, it works for someone like Joyce, but they're visibly, someone like Joe Joyce, he doesn't look as heavy as he is, like, so it's natural on his body, whereas on Fraze you can tell there's just a little bit of extra weight there, and maybe that's something that might hamper him moving forward. Plus the
Mm,
fact a lot of the stuff that he throws is hard. It's not like he sort of just lets the shots go. He does put a lot of emphasis into them, which can, you know, blow the gas tank a bit quicker. So yeah, work on a bit of the stamina. It was good that he got the round, so that at least now he knows what he has to work on, and just tighten up the defense, because unfortunately, as we said yesterday, he's got a lot of scar tissue and skin that opens up quite easily. So he needs to make sure that he's not going to get hampered in his higher level fights by those kind of issues taking place.
North Bank Brent has remarked, don't see Fraser going past British level. I'll be honest with you, I have to agree with you. I really don't see. I mean, you know, there are guys who I think cause him a lot of problem. David Adelaide. I know
Yeah,
you
you
don't
said
rank.
that yesterday. I don't.
Yeah.
I still don't see that. But
I seriously don't think. I don't see how you don't see David Adelaide giving him trouble. I mean, I could understand if you think he wins the fight, but he gets touched up too easily.
okay, but what trouble does he give him specifically?
He's
Because
just gonna tee off on him. He's literally can't defend punches.
but Adelaide couldn't tee off on Sokolowski, who Fraser had his way
But
with.
I just,
And
you
now I'm not
know,
even using a triangle theory. I'm literally using levels there. Like
yeah,
Adelaide doesn't have a background in the amateurs the same as Fraser does. Fraser's gonna be, he'll probably keep Adelaide on the back foot. Adelaide's not gonna want to swarm in there, in my opinion. Like I think Fraser will get to European. I've always said I feel like he'll get European, but I don't think he'll do anything at world level.
yeah,
And I don't think Adelaide will even get to European level unless he's very carefully maneuvered by Frank Warren. That's my opinion on him. I didn't watch his fight on Friday, so I have no analysis to go off as to if he looks like he's made any improvements or not.
yeah. Okay. Bruce Kai also mentions F.A. Jagbar. He also mentions Gorman will give him problems, and Gorman ain't good. I kind of find that a little bit, because I think Adelaide is better than Gorman, personally.
That's a
I,
big
I
shout.
I'm I just think that.
Okay.
But hey, let's move on, because as I said, got lots to cover. So after that, we ain't gonna talk about exhibition fights on that card, Mr. Hatton. But we will move straight to Janibek against Denzel Bentley. Let me find this footage. Here we go. So Janibek was heavily favored. Obviously, we talked, listening to your preview, this was a very big jump for Denzel to take. And do you know what? Respect due. He went out, he tried his best. But look, Janibek looked physically bigger. He punched faster. He punches harder. He works harder, and effectively, he was able to dominate this fight. Even although there are times when Denzel does do good work, but overall, Janibek under the tutelage of Buddy McGirt is actually showing boxing skills in this fight that I have to say he's now making us think, well, hang on, how high can his ceiling go? Because, he is showing good head movement, as we can see. He's got a good jab. And, anyone who's got power and can back that up with some decent boxing skills and good punch selection, as you can see, is gonna cause problems for anybody. So yeah, very good performance by Janibek. Plucky effort by Denzel. As most people are saying, he raised his stock by going in and fighting the beast Janibek, who is renowned as a knockout artist, and the fact that he goes 12 rounds, respect to him for that. But let's not get this twisted. This was a clear win for Janibek, and we can now hopefully look forward to some real proper matchmaking against the elite fighters in his weight classes.
It's funny you say that because I actually agree with you, but to everyone else, this was a very, very poor performance. Um, now, okay, I guess for most people it was a poor performance because this guy, their argument is he should be knocking out someone like Denzel Bentley because Felix Cash did it in 3 rounds. And to a certain degree, I can see how someone could say, well, if a guy who's domestic slash European level can get rid of him, why can't a guy at world level? But then you also then have to say, well, maybe Denzel is better now than he was then. Maybe that loss made him fix things up. Maybe he's now added some additional wrinkles to his game that he never had before. Or maybe you might just say, sometimes you can't. Maybe it's the style. Maybe someone like Felix Cash, because he throws constant punches in bunches. So as soon as he throws one punch, he throws a second, he throws the third, he throws the fourth. You don't get the chance to recover. Whereas Denzel seems to have good powers of recovery from taking one shot, but then obviously if you get the accumulation, then that's where the issue comes. Whereas Janibek doesn't really throw like two, three, four, five shots in one salvo. He's a sharpshooter. He looks for those almost punch placements, especially towards the last half of a fight when he's a bit more tired. Now, um, in the fight, what I will say is, as I said in one of my videos, the biggest thing I can credit Denzel with in this is the fact he didn't get knocked out. I thought that he would get stopped, whether it was a flat on the floor or ref jumps in. That was what I was thinking. I said the way how he has to approach this fight, he can't he can't get overawed, or he can't react to the foot feints that Yanni Beck's he's gonna do, because he stamps on the floor, he makes you react, he makes your like your adrenaline levels spike, and if he does that enough, that will be something that will end up wearing down the gas tank, or you'll end up losing concentration, because if you react to it enough, there's going to be the time you don't, and that's going to be the time that he throws at you. And then at that point, because you're in such an elevated state, probably at that, then like your body is just going to react differently to the punches. And that's kind of how I thought it was, and ultimately that's what happened for the first 4 rounds. Now, obviously, Denzel says that he was trying to bide his time. That's what he said yesterday on Monday Night Smoke. Cool. I'm not gonna argue that point, but it was clear to me that in sort of those first, after he stopped falling for the feints, is when he actually started to have success. When he started to now, okay, you know what? Let me try and get on the front foot a bit more. I'm gonna see what you do when I throw something out there. And at that point, he had a bit more success. He did manage to sort of tag Johnny back a couple times, but to me, it was one of those things where yes, it was his stock rose from not getting knocked out, because it's not like, oh, we pushed the champion really close and he had like it was like a nip and tuck fight and he showed that he's like world level in that sense. It was literally a case of he did a lot better than anyone expected, because he never went down, he never hit the canvas. But ultimately, if you're going to be generous, you give him 4 rounds. If you're going to be harsh, you give him 1 to 2, which means that Yanni Beck still won like almost every round in this fight. And absolute worst, he won 2/3 of the fight. So there is still work to be done, which was my concerns in the beginning. Like there's levels that you haven't been at yet, which you need to add these strings to your bow, so that when you get there, even if you don't win necessarily, like you're gonna be able to exploit and take certain things away from the champion. You're going to learn how to be able to take away other people's advantages and disadvantages, go in 12 rounds and seeing more styles than you've been seeing, because you've only fought like domestic British fighters, apart from obviously the first few couple journeymen that you get as every pro gets in their first stage. And that was what my big concern was. Um, but yeah, like I said, like we give props, we do give props, but I almost don't want to give props for just going the distance, because he doesn't even want that. He said himself, like, I'm not happy with the performance because I didn't win. So in that same vein, then I'm not gonna just give you respect because you stayed on your feet for 12 rounds, kind of thing. Like there was a lot more. There was a lot more in that fight that you weren't able to do because you just weren't at the level to do it yet. But I do believe he can get there. So at least on that point, his confidence overall, I suppose, doesn't take a massive hit. It's not like oh wow, like I just got fully owned and beat up and destroyed in front of the world. It's not like that, at least. So if he takes the experience that he's gained here, comes back, rebuilds, I believe he can definitely do well, like moving forward. I don't know what level he gets to, if he gets that world championship or not. I mean, I hope he gets there. Um, but yeah, overall, I feel like that's sort of my assessment on the fight. There was this, he started way too slow. He was he kind of got pushed around the ring more than he should have. He didn't impose himself until sort of middle rounds. Even then he was kind of getting picked. He was getting picked off, which is probably why he didn't want to exchange a bit more at the start when they're both a bit fresher. Um, but yeah, he showed that he's got good powers of recovery, which is something that I knew anyway. It's just the only kind of people are going to take him out are people that will swarm, they will hit hard, and they will continuously hit, as opposed to hit and then try and find the next shot. Whereas someone who just throws and throws is going to be someone that he's going to have his most issues with.
Cool. So, do you want to just give me your feedback on Janny Beck's in improvements? Do you, like me, think that he's made an improvement under Buddy McGirt of late that now makes him a legitimate fighter for top ranking in the division? I mean, if we look at I've got BoxRec in front of me. They rank Gennady Golovkin 1, Andrade 2, Eubank Jr. 3, Mungaya 4, Carlos Adames 5, Derenchenko, Zefra, and then Janny Beck, Erisland Lari, Felix Cash, Ryota Murata, Nursultanov. So, what's your feelings in terms of his placement in amongst those names?
Well, forget BoxRec first of all, but I mean, when you say has he made improvements with McGirt, I mean he's been with him from the start of his pro career, and he's the same. Like in terms of what he does, like the same, like head movement, all that stuff is everything is the same. The best fight to actually watch of his is the fight he had with Vaughan Alexander, because that was a fight where he had to show front foot, he had to show back foot, he had to show trading and staying in the pocket, evading shots, arms down, arms up. Like it showed his entire repertoire in that particular fight. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe recently he's got like knockout, he's sort of got knockout happy, so maybe he's moved away a bit from his for more of the boxing and the amateur stuff, because he's used to just taking guys out recently. But realistically, I don't feel like he's made improvements in the sense that everyone gradually makes improvements, but he's the same fighter. It's not like, oh, he's much better than he was there. And the only thing that's different with this fight is that he had to go 12 rounds. So some people are seeing more of the stuff that he can do than they've seen before. They haven't seen his other fights. But like, I mean, again, you've credited this fight a lot more than most other people have, because most people are very disappointed in him in this fight, whereas you've felt that it was a really good performance. So I guess it's what you like or what you see that other people don't.
Yeah. Osborne says he thinks Andrade beats him. I mean, I don't know what the hell Boo Boo is doing, in all honesty, and neither does anybody else in the boxing world. I think we're looking at, historically, he was a good boxer. When's the last time he boxed? Is he even relevant in this conversation right now?
Are you asking me? Like he boxed
it's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
I'll let Osborne make of that as he wishes. Let's move on. On the undercard of that fight was Sinicia Estrada versus Villarina. Um, I'll let you go on this one.
So what, did you not watch this one either?
Again, highlights.
Okay. Well, essentially, so Jasmine Villarino, she I watched what I specifically did before watching this fight is I actually went back and tried to watch several of her previous fights to see what she would kind of offer. Now, being I've just now come to the conclusion that Argentinians are very, very difficult to stop, and more than likely you're not gonna be able to take them out because they've got extremely hard heads and they're very, very tough people. Um, Now, but what I did think is that because she's very good at sharpshooting and she's got enough power that Viorino would exchange with her at some point and get caught and clipped, very similar to like some of Sanisa's more recent opponents. But she backed off in the first sort of 3-4 rounds. And then was trying to sort of sharpshoot and make sort of Sinisa come forward. But then I think after a while she realized that that particular style and that tactic just wasn't going to do anything for her, and her best bet was to sort of try and get on the front foot and push Sinisa back, where she did have a bit more success. She still didn't necessarily win those rounds, but she just looked a lot more competitive in them. Sinisa again been out of the ring for about 11 months. So she needed those 10 rounds, to be honest. The next fight she's going to have is a unification. She was switch hitting as she normally does. She landed a lot of good shots. She had a lot of good variety. She landed well in the pocket. She landed well from range. Um, and it was a good performance. It just wasn't a great one. But, she can definitely get back to, sort of being super sharp and super deadly. This just wasn't necessarily that fight, but it was probably the fight she needed for the comeback. So, which is one thing you can always say about Top Rank: they know how to bring people along. They know what someone needs and when they need it. So, um, yeah, overall, it was a really good performance from Sinisa. Wasn't one of her better ones, but it was definitely what she needed. And I can imagine that the next opponent is probably going to have to suffer for the good work that she got this for these 10 rounds.
Cool. Excellent. All right. I'm going to quickly move on because, as I said, there's just so much content. Very briefly on the undercard of that, also there was Ray Ford.
That was the DAZN card.
Was that the DAZN card? So
Yeah.
quickly, I've got a bit of footage there from the Ray Ford fight. Pretty boy Ray Ford, I like to call him, because he is kind of one of them. I love myself kind of fighters, but he certainly came out. He looked bright, he looked fresh, and he put on a clinic. He dealt with his man. Lucas was game, but in the end, Ford's physicality was just too much. As you can see, he's picking his shots. He's able to stay in the pocket.
Well, he's the only person who's ever knocked him out, so you got to give him some respect for that.
Yeah. So well done, Ray Ford. Another name, if you haven't seen Ray, he's one to look out for. Very good-looking fighter, and we hope to see more of him as he progresses through the rankings. Next, just going to mention your debutant, Beatrice Ferreira. Do you want to tell us a bit about this one?
Yeah, so I was looking forward to this because Beatrice specifically campaigned for 3-minute rounds. Now, in the pro ranks, the only other person that I actually know that's done 3-minute round fights is Sinisa Estrada and Marlon Esparza. So it was pretty significant that she's campaigned with all the governing bodies that she wanted to have a six 3-minute round fight, but I think when it came down to it, it was only 4 rounds instead. But you can clearly see where 3 minutes can be beneficial because she's pretty much threw every different type of punch under the sun. She moved extremely well. She's got power. She's got grit. She's a sharpshooter. She's also like a pressuring boxer puncher that she could stay on the front foot. And it's not like she was just fighting some any person. She was fighting a 5-0 girl who also was a very accomplished amateur, just like she was. Not obviously to the same degree, but the difference in the two of them and the difference in skill level, in class, everything between her and Cardoso was very telling. And yes, I'm definitely looking forward to watching more of her bouts moving forward. In anyone who hasn't seen this fight, it's definitely one to watch if you've got any interest in like women's boxing.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our review of an absolutely stacked weekend of boxing. We've actually gone way over our normal, time, but hopefully you appreciate that. We've tried to address all the major boxing this weekend, of which there was quite a lot. Take our hats off to those promoters who put on deep cards and very interesting cards.
Oh,
Some
actually,
very
before we go, two quick shout outs. Richardson Hitchens making his Matchroom debut, coming from TMT Promotions. So big ups to him. He called out Stevie Spark. He called out Montana Love in the press conference. He called out Liam Parrow as well. So pretty much at 140, he's looking for all the smoke he can get. So he says he wants to be active, so at least being with someone like Eddie, he can be kept active. So big ups to him. Also, big ups to my Capricorn compatriot Raven Chapman, because she actually fought in Dubai over the weekend, not on the DAZN Deji Mayweather card, but there was a crypto. I think it was like a crypto card that was done on CryptoWatch.com. She was fighting the lady's name's Fatuma something. I can't remember her surname. Who's basically had about 30 plus fights as a pro. Raven was on her fifth fight. It was on her fifth fight. She won very comfortable. Potentially the fight could have been stopped on a couple of occasions, but Fatuma ended up going the 6-round distance with her. But she got another fighting for the year, which is what I love, because I love to see the activity. So yeah, just shout out to Raven as well. I'm looking forward to see what she does next year moving forward.
cool. Thank you very much. So, guys, down below on the ticker tape, you can see where you can find BaseDaKID on all platforms, Twitter, IG, YouTube. Be sure to look out for his picks this weekend and any other shows that he delivers through the week, because
There won't be a picks this weekend. Just to let everyone know, there's not enough stuff on.
Yeah, so I was actually going to mention that as well, that this weekend is pretty dire for boxing. Jamie Mungaya is fighting a guy that, literally
Correa, yeah.
is, it's not even worth talking about. And therefore, we're probably unlikely to have another show next week. We'll probably have a week off.
We might have a show. Yeah, I'll sort it out. But
Okay.
there's some things that I'm hoping I can get a couple things happening, and if nothing else, we can have a discussion show that we done the last time.
Cool. All right. So, guys, thank you very much, everybody who's stayed in tune. Hope you've all enjoyed the show. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so. Plus, of course, if you haven't already got your ticket, go get your ticket for where are you?
Yeah, that's not what we want.
Too Bold, Too Hilarious. With our teammates Travis J and KG the Comedian. I will be there front and center. Got my ticket. I know Base is going to be there. Yes.
Yeah, I've got a couple tickets. Let's not worry about who I'm gonna be there with and all that. Like,
I didn't say anything. I just said you're going to be there.
I'll be in attendance in some way, shape, or form.
Okay. So no chat about the netball fight. Sorry guys, just literally, I know a couple of you have mentioned his performance. Netball versus Kiko. Fine. Hopefully it gets made. But yeah, guys, hopefully we'll catch up with you next week. Have a great weekend. Salute from everybody here. And we are out.
Peace.